Hey there. Happy 2023. I have so much to say. We had quite a wild holiday season. Yeah, my husband broke his arm. I've been trying to make this video now a couple times and I went into details and it's like, this is way too long. I'm not going to go into the details. But anyway, he fell on the ice. He's a photographer and we had some crazy ice formations over the holidays. And this was 2 days after, and he fell on the ice. He slipped even his crampon things on the bottom of his boots that are supposed to cling onto, these spikes that are supposed to stop you from slipping. Well, that actually slipped and he fell. And so he got some great shots. He's happy about that, but he had to have surgery. So it's been a year. It's been a year. He's had a few health problems. He had a heart attack in July, and so there's been a lot of stuff with him. And so, of course, we're married, and yeah, we're married, and so those kind of things affect me too. And so I've had some different things go on that were a bit difficult because of it. Yeah, he couldn't drive for a month, and now he needs a lot of help. Yeah, because he's recovering with this broken arm. Um, so through all these things, um, try and my goal last year was to make some space for myself. That's why I started this YouTube channel in the first place, yeah, for a creative space for myself, because I think I've said it in other videos that my granddaughters live here 50% of the time, and my daughter's living with us now for temporarily. And so to have this space for myself is just so important. I really need it. So one of the things that I've learned through different kinds of difficult things that we have to go through is that, first of all, not to relive things that are difficult, because that just causes more suffering. Like, you've already done it. You already went through it. You learned what you learned. I feel like you do have to process these sort of big events, but it's like, when that's done, you don't have to keep reliving it. It just causes more suffering, and it's just, yeah, I want to focus my attention on things that I want to create rather than things that already happened in the past that are done. They're done and over, right? Um, so one of the things I do every year is like a review of my year, and even though last year was a difficult year with some health stuff for my husband, I I found something positive in every month pretty much. And the spring was a bit more difficult because there were some viral things that people were detoxing, like the kids were, and then I did as well. And I kind of went through the house. And so that was a little bit more trying for me. That was a little bit more difficult. And what can you do but you just stop and you let your body heal, right? You rest. And that's what we all did until later in the year. So what I did was I had a really good May and a really good June. I bought these beautiful flowers that just brought me so much joy to grow. I just love dahlias, and so I bought some tubers. I bought some from a local flower farm, just a young woman, and I got to meet her this year. I went into her fields and I picked dahlias, and that was really, really fun. I'll put some pictures up of that. It was really one of the most beautiful experiences, and just this incredibly uplifting, um, yeah, thing. It was just the color therapy. I'm thinking so much about color therapy. Um, as an artist, I'm always playing with color. I'm always, I'll be drawn to certain things, like this painting back here, which I can show you. It's not even finished yet, but you kind of get the gist of it. It's got a lot of greens in it, right? And that was just really healing for me. I watched actually, uh, it was an animated thing about Van Gogh and the greens. The greens. Oh, there's something about the way he works with color that just really inspired me. So that's when I painted that painting. And so I think about a lot about color therapy and the way that the flowers in the garden and the green that comes in the spring and the summer and the foliage, just like everything, like how incredibly healing that is for all of us after a long winter if you're in the north, right? And yeah, just seeing all that color return, is really something. It really, and you think about the heart chakra, the green and the pink of the heart chakra, how much just the energy of that is very much needed after a long winter. So now I'm thinking about winter and I'm thinking about the garden for the spring because we got this new plot of land when they started doing the property lines here. And so that's a whole new project. And the thing about this new piece of land, it's kind of a strange, because they're closing an alleyway and it went on an angle. So we're getting back this piece of property that we haven't had. We've been here for 30 years and we've never had this piece of property. It's always been in our neighbor's yard, which really actually wasn't part of their property. So anyway, we have this like wedge shaped piece of property, and it's got so much more sun because they cut down 3 cedar trees that were on our property and they were on the neighbors as well. And so those have been there forever, and I love those trees. It was so very sad, but we did get all the cedar chips and we got a bunch of greens that I used in my Christmas decorating. Actually, I brought them all in, and now I have some of the dried cedar. And so that was at least something that was comforting after having to have those trees go down, because they had to go in the land and take and remove all these old sewer lines and water lines, and they had to put new ones in. So it's been a lot, but it really is a beautiful gift to get after all of that. And it was helpful to know that we would have this really sunny piece of land to just grow more flowers because I love growing flowers, and I love growing zinnias. It's another thing that I love to grow, and it's great because zinnias, you can collect the seeds from them, and every petal is like a seed. I remember my mother telling me that when I was younger, and you collect those seeds and you can keep growing them every year. So I'm going to have my own little cutting garden. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm more about that as the spring approaches, and we'll see how we can actually do and what we can do with that piece of land, because they still aren't down the road. They're going to be here for a few more months in the spring, so we'll see how that all goes. But I want to talk about, I think I'm going to name it the Bliss Project, because last year when all that stuff was going on, I was like, how can you bring more joyful experiences into your life? These things happen that you don't have any control over, but how can you bring in more joyful, fun, pleasurable experiences? How can you do that? Because you do learn things from those as well. You learn from the hard experiences. There's always something, some sort of gold in it, some sort of silver lining to every experience that feels difficult, right? I've always felt like that too. I mean, maybe there are certain experiences where it's like, yeah, no, there wasn't anything in there. But yeah, there's always something. There always feels like there's something, that it brings you something. And sometimes just connection to the people around you brings you closer to family and friends, or even some beautiful things, like someone who you don't even know that well, and they do these beautiful things for you. Like when my husband broke his arm, my neighbors, my family members brought us food. It was so wonderful because the day of the surgery, which was quite an anxious day, I had this beautiful homemade soup to feed everybody. And yeah, just these beautiful, beautiful people who come into your lives in difficult times, and so that is, I think, that's, something that I've always found to be true for me. There's always some wonderful person who, holds out their hand and brings this beautiful light into your life in a time that feels darker, right? So I want to cultivate more of these blissful experiences, and so I'm going to do this Bliss project, and I'm going to talk about it soon because I can see my video is getting long and I don't want to keep gabbing. Thank you for being here. I hope you join in on the project. If you do, please let me know. Let me know how you're doing so far this year, and if you'd like to come along for a really fun experiment. Thanks for being here.